Are you missing the chance to really turn that like interested client into that booking one? In this week's Tuesday Talks, we are going to be diving into the most effective inquiry booking workflow you will find. This is part 2 of our workflow series. I'm Andreka from Andreka Photography and Coaching, here again this day to talk about all things business, because when it comes down to it, running a photography business is not all about photos. It is about a hell of a lot more. And it's about all the little minutiae when it comes to running a business, which can be overwhelming if you don't have someone to explain it to you. And in the end, can also be super fun once you understand it. Just adding an extra layer of knowledge you have to understanding your business, your photography, and running a business. This week, I'm going to be showing you how to create a seamless process from the moment a client reaches out to when they officially book you. Now, all of these things are going to require a few tools, and it's going to require, I use a tool called Dubsado. We'll talk more about this, but there's a lot of other options that you can do, even if it's as simple as using a notes or docs or Word docs and keeping track of automation tracks and email templates all in one place. In this talk, you are going to learn about all the different ways that these things can help you, how you can have intentional interactions, make them professional, user-friendly, so that every potential client feels confident that choosing you is the absolute best decision they can make, and you are the photographer for them. So that by the end of this session, you're going to be able to walk away with a totally clear understanding of why an inquiry booking workflow matters, because I know oftentimes photographers think workflow is for post-production. Workflow is for me in my editing and the post-production and behind the scenes. But workflows are really important every single step of the way, because there are so many steps along the way and you don't want to get lost. It's like going through a forest clouded by all the trees, and every tree is a different thing. But if you know how to line them up, if you know how to get on the quickest, easiest path through that forest, that's what a workflow is going to do for you. So we're going to get the clear understanding of why it's important, because you know me, I always like to talk about the whys. We're going to talk about the actionable steps to design and refine that perfect little workflow for you. We're going to talk about insights into the common mistakes that photographers often make. And then we're going to talk and sprinkle in a little stuff about Dubsado or the programs that are like this, because I know oftentimes I say something like a Dubsado or a CRM or a studio management, and people go, huh? I'm going to show you how they work and what they're going to do. Just a little bit icing on the cake so it gets you to understand the importance of programs like this. So join me right now as we start diving into the whys, because I like to start everything with the whys so you can understand why these things we're talking about are actually important. So why is it important to have an effective inquiry booking workflow? Because first impressions matter. Right? The inquiry process is the first point of contact that a potential client sees you. So setting that tone that you're professional, that you respond quickly is so important. And last thing you want is anything to drop through the cracks. You never know what life is around the corner. You never know if you email goes down, or if you sleep in and you miss an email, or whatever life throws your way. If you're like me and you're flying around the world and you end up on a flight that has no Wi-Fi, these aren't reasons that you want. You want your first impression to matter. You want to craft a welcoming, automated email response using tools like Dubsado or CRMs in general, Dubsado, Honeybook, ShoeQ, or if it's as simple as using an email, Flowdesk is another great one, saving email templates somewhere. So even if it's not automated for you to send it, have it easy for you to get to by having your email templates saved. I know before I was really using a really great email system or automated system, I had all my emails kind of in a safe spot for me to look at, copy and paste, and then tweak as I needed to do it, right? You also want to make sure, even though you have these automated templated emails, personalize the emails with the name, the wedding date, the location. You want everyone to feel like they're special. I actually tend to ask an interesting question on my questionnaire. For example, what's your favorite TV show, right? This is a way to reference it in the email and start to build a bond with the potential clients that's coming in. I also gives me an idea of like what kind of client they are. Think back to your avatar, right? Think back to your ideal client. What's their favorite TV show? And if they're answering that, that also makes you go, oh, I know this person, right? Like, is their favorite TV show something on Bravo, or is it documentaries? This kind of gives you an idea of the type of avatar they're looking for and that you're looking for as well, right? So first impressions matter. 2, it streamlines your booking process, right? It's going to save time and it's going to minimize any missed opportunities. So by creating these templated responses for common inquiries, it's going to make everything a lot easier, and it's going to make it so, let's say you wake up one day and you've got a ton of things on your to-do list, or you're going out of town, or you've got to take your kids to the doctor, but you have 7 inquiries. You do not want to let those inquiries fall through the cracks. So this is going to make things super easy to get them from point A to point B. Point A meaning inquiry, point B meaning booking you, as quickly and easily as possible without it really disrupting your life. Use email triggers to instantly send these different templates. Again, you can do this through all the different programs we just talked about: Dubsado, Flowdesk, ShootQ. Email me if you have questions about which ones to use. Like I said, I tend to use Dubsado. I also tend to use Flowdesk for different reasons. So then the next thing, why these are important, it actually builds trust and confidence from the client's perspective. Potential clients are going to feel super assured when their inquiry is met with immediate professionalism. You would be so shocked how often I get, "Wow, thank you for responding so quickly." So you want to make sure that one way to do this is to set a clear FAQ or pricing guide or photo guide immediately, and that people can see some beautiful image, they see something professional. I like to think of the idea of creating a PDF guide with really beautiful visuals with this like polished look for your FAQs or tips on photography, right? And attach that in the first email that goes out, or later on in the process. Again, kind of depends on what your workflow is going to look like, which we'll talk a little bit about that a little bit later. It also, this is a great thing about this back and forth. If you don't have a workflow in place where you're answering questions that you kind of already know are going to come, it minimizes having this workflow. And the longer it takes you to get a potential client from inquiry to booking, the more chances someone else can swoop in, the more chances you want to have that thing go fast. So the less back and forth communication you have, the better. You want to simplify the process for both you and your clients. Include links to schedule a call and just skip right to it. I do a questionnaire and then I offer a call. Whatever you like and whatever works best for you when it comes to what you prefer as far as communication, which we'll talk about a little bit more later too. So when you can use things like an online scheduler, you can integrate that into your inquiry form, or just send it for them directly and say, let's talk. The biggest thing that's important to have these workflows is that it ensures that no client's going to fall through the crack, right? Every inquiry is a potential booking. No matter what you think their budget is, you want to treat everyone equally. And by making sure that you have the system and the workflow in place, you can track every inquiry using Dubsado, ShootQ, all these different things. Or again, even if you're really good at creating things using the word spam filter, folder, whatever. All right, so now the good stuff. The how. The how. Where to begin when it comes to crafting this inquiry booking workflow. First thing you want to do is you want to map out the client journey. Like anything, you don't want to have them blindly through the forest. You want to map them out from point A to point C, D, E, whatever point it's going to be. How are they going to get there step by step by step, right? So mapping out that client journey, number one thing. It's going to ensure that there's a logical, comprehensive workflow. Not extra stuff, not too little, not too much, but logical and direct. Using a flowchart tool or visualizing each step is super key, right? So include these steps for follow-up. Make sure you include nurturing leads. So this is where asking those interesting questions helps. You want to make sure that they're not feeling like they're just part of the clog in your part of the system, right? So next point, identify those key touch points, right? So what are the most important things that matter? These are going to be the moments that really define the client's experience and how you're going to implement this. Plan those email templates at each stage. So pre-schedule emails so you never miss a touch point. For example, touch points. For me, I keep it simple. Some people are going to have it even more simple. A very, very, very simple workflow could be inquiry, schedule a call, book. Or inquiry, proposal, if you don't do a lot of custom stuff, call, book. However you like. Personally, mine, inquiry, Then I have a questionnaire, because my questionnaire is my info gathering. My info gathering allows me to really get to know my client, so then I can personalize things a little bit more and have that connection and have that client journey feel really heard and listened to, because a wedding is so important and it's such an emotional investment. So having that in, and then never forget your follow-ups. So I go inquiry, questionnaire, follow-up, and then once I get the questionnaire, I ask certain questions, right? Which I think we actually have a video about this in the previous library, if you will. But most important that I look at when I ask my questionnaire is where, when, right? Which most likely I got that in the inquiry. But most important is, what's your budget? What do you want? Tell me about yourselves. What's your budget? What do you want? Tell me about yourselves. Because, and the tell me about yourself is just as important as what do you want and what's your budget, because how much effort someone puts into that is reflective of how serious they really are on you. But that's a whole different topic. All right, let's continue on. So that is the skeleton of what it should look like. And then from there, follow up, and then always, always, always have a thank you. Next step, automate wherever possible, right? This is going to save you time and it's going to create consistency. So automate your follow-ups, automate your thank you, automate, and you have automation and templates. These are going to be key to making your workflow go smooth, right? So it's going to save you time. It's going to create consistency. Programs, again, like Dubsado have the automation feature. You can put email templates in there and it's going to help you trigger your workflows. And you can actually put your workflows into Dubsado. You can look at it. You can see how every client is lined up and where they are in the system. It's amazing. And then oftentimes you can also put this where you can create the custom workflows based off the answers in your original inquiry, right? Are they an elopement? For me, an elopement's going to have a little different system than a regular wedding's going to have. They're similar, but a little different. Email templates are going to be a little different with this. I know I'm throwing a lot of information with you really quickly, but I'm really hoping that when you listen to this, taking some notes, you'll see the bones to where to start and where you can begin, right? So then you also want to make sure you create booking proposal templates, okay? This is super key. What does that make? Well, first off, it's going to make it super easy for your clients to sign and pay. You want everything super easy. Again, you want them to not pause. You don't want to send them a proposal with the packages, say, I want this package, and then you send them an invoice somewhere else, and then you send them this somewhere else. You want it all in one link. One link has your packages, has your proposal, has your contract, has your invoice. Bam, 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 done and done. Now, when you want to do this, you want to make sure that the booking proposal template has several aspects already kind of created as templates. Packages. Take your packages, and even if you're going to be customizing your packages for different clients, see where the basis is. Again, there was a big video we offer what works best for me and give you some ideas of how you can tweak that to make it work for your own business. And then finally, we are going to talk about the common mistakes photographers make when it comes to these workflows. And these are ones that people are going to go, oh yeah, of course, that makes sense. But might not actually think about it, or it might be like, oh, I did it again. But these are so important. Number one, waiting too long to respond. Delayed responses can make clients feel ignored and lead them to choose other vendors. Like I had said earlier, I constantly have people saying, wow, thank you for getting back to me so quickly. Potential couples love this. They have a tiny bit of time that they can plan their wedding in their whole day-to-day life, that the faster you respond, the better. I can't remember what the exact percentage is, but it's a pretty big percentage of, if you were the first person to respond, you are so much more likely to get booked than if you're the second, third, fourth, or fifth. So try to be the first person to respond, right? And setting up these automatic acknowledgments are so key. Literally, this is why I can live on the other side of the world. Because when I get an inquiry at 3 o'clock in the morning, Bali time, I have an instant email that responds saying, thank you so much, this is so great, please let me know, I want to hear about this. And I make it a little personalized looking email. I can't tell you how many times I wake up and hear, wow, thanks for getting back to me so quickly. And I was like, yeah, glad I could help. Right? So number one, respond quickly. If you're looking through your emails in the morning and you've got those inquiries, put everything else aside and respond to the inquiries first. Because really, that's where the money is. And you want to make sure too that even if you're setting up these automated emails that might be a little bit more generic, put a line in there saying, I'll be in touch with more information shortly. Thank you for doing this. I'm so excited, blah, 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 right? You want them to see you're excited. And by responding first and quickly, you are. Next mistake, not having a consistent workflow. Inconsistency and inconsistent responses can lead to disorganized process and lost inquiries, and a sign of not being very professional, right? So, for example, let's say you have a mother who inquires, a groom, and a bride. And if you don't have a consistent workflow, all three might get different responses from you, which is going to lead to confusion, and it's going to lead to disorganized process, and it's not going to reflect strongly on you as the professional, right? So you want to build in the standard workflow using your CRMs, Dubsado, ShootQ, blah, 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 to follow every single time. And again, it makes it easier for your brain as well, right? You want to also make sure you test these workflows regularly to ensure it still meets what your business is looking for and that it's still all triggering as it should be. Don't forget to double check things. All right, another big mistake is overwhelming potential clients with too much information. Too many details can actually confuse and overwhelm a client, making them less likely to book you. You want to give them the key points like pricing, services, next steps, right? They don't need everything. For example, when in my process, which we'll talk more next week, I don't ask all the personal questions. I don't ask about their wedding party. I don't ask all about that stuff right away because that I don't need to know what I need to book them, right? Pricing, services, next steps, most important. If they ask you questions, yes. You want it to be a one-page summary, no more than one page. People lose interest really quickly. So keep your information limited. This can also confuse you, and you can start to lose track of your own workflows. So when it comes down to it, the minimal information, most important, one-page summary, cliff notes, if you will, is going to make it easier for everybody to keep track of everything. All right, and then this is another one, which is really big, and that is not setting clear boundaries. This is just a mistake in general photographers tend to make, especially business owners who really need and want that client and that business, right? But it shows professionalism when you have a workflow in place, you have your own standards, you have your own time and deadlines. For example, thank you for reaching out. I loved your information. I'm going to be getting you a customized proposal within the next 48 hours or the next 24 hours. Or as you set these boundaries of where the timeline is, that way they aren't expecting an instant 24/7 availability. You're setting what you need for you to create a best. And this also leads so you don't end up being burnt out, right? Setting office hours. Sometimes you can put it in your signature, which is really smart. Set office hours. Communicate to them in your email signature what you really want. Use out-of-office responses. There's a million different ways you can do this. Another really important way to set a boundary is what is your best and favorite way to communicate? Is it text, email, phone calls, social media, etc.? For me, I love emails, especially because I'm always traveling all the time and I don't necessarily know what my Wi-Fi is going to be, but I pretty much always can have emails. So I try to early on set the standard of where and how to communicate with my clients. And I always say, email is going to be the best. I'm always going to respond to your email within 24 hours, right? So instantly I'm saying, I hear you. I'm going to get back to you. You'll hear from me within 24 hours. Or 48 or whatever it is. Hell, you can say 72. You can do whatever you want. As long as your first initial response is quick, after that, you can set your boundaries of where you want your communication to be, right? For example, summertime, wedding season time, when it's weekends, it's going to be hard to respond on the weekends. And if you tell a client ahead of time, they'll understand. And then this is just as important as the waiting too long, which probably should have been closer to the top of mistakes. You might be able to guess it. Not following up. Do not assume that you're bothering them if you're following up, and put the follow-ups in your workflow. So important. Clients may forget to reply, or they might need a nudge to make a decision. Oh my gosh, I thought we had taken care of this and we didn't. Please tell me you're still available. So the way I tend to do with my workflow is for every little thing I need them to fill, not inquiry because that's first, but the questionnaire, the proposal, anything else I have later on in the systems, I give them, I do a 48-hour reminder, because what if it just got lost in an email system and they never even got it, right? 48-hour, 2 weeks, 2 weeks, 2 weeks type idea. right? So 48 hours gets them like, oh, it takes the email back to the top. Let's say they were gone for a week and had tons of emails come in, right? Give them the follow-up. If a follow-up bothered them because you emailed them quote unquote too much, they probably weren't going to hire you to begin with, right? Right? Use words like just checking in to see how you were, how's your wedding planning going. Always good to follow up, follow up, follow up. So that is our quick little rundown of a very big section of life in our business running. As always, you can let me know in the comments. I am going to put the link to a Dubsado discount code if you're interested in checking it out. I'm always here for any questions. Please feel free to DM me. Thank you so much for joining this week's talk on the most effective inquiry and booking workflow you will ever find. And I hope now you feel super empowered to go create some seamless professional experiences for your clients so that they are going to come and book you right away and feel good and feel confident and feel your trust and your interest in their event. Remember, your workflow isn't just about efficiency. It's really about building that trust and providing that top tier client experience so that you can then offer and charge the money that you're valued and worth, and they will see it and appreciate it as well. So to recap today's key takeaways, we talked about the importance of a workflow and why you need it when you're doing your business, how to avoid those common mistakes, those best practices for leveraging tools like Dubsado and CRMs for automating and tracking your process, and those practical steps to how to design that user-friendly inquiry and booking system. Next week, continuing on with our workflow series, is next step. They've now booked, so what then? So next we're going to be talking about the onboarding, post-booking workflow your client is going to love. Trust me, as always, I encourage you to test all these strategies and let me know how it works for you. I'll see you next week. Thanks. Make sure to check out that Dubsado code. Have a lovely day.